On the capital wasteland, people sometimes engage in activities that won't ensure their survival and reproduction. A pair of scientists named Jason and Isabella studied the behavior and life of feral ghouls, and today we'll look at what happened to them. In the end, I'll share a theory that seems obvious to me, and gradually I'll present important details that support my thoughts, prior to discovering the scientists. The location we need to find today is truly well hidden, and is situated in the realms of Tacoma Park. The only way to the park is through the East Vernon Tacoma Park tunnel, near the Voltec headquarters and Vernon Square station. Before the tunnel, as well as inside it, there are hordes of super mutants. Part of the tunnel is flooded, so on the way out you'll encounter mirrorworks, and the tunnel itself is, in my opinion, hard to pass. Finally, upon exiting, you'll just need to explore the Tacoma Park. The super mutants have firmly established themselves here. As you leave the tunnel, a trap in the form of a mined stroller with a crying doll will greet you. After fighting through several waves of super mutants, you'll eventually find the Tacoma Industrial Factory, with even more super mutants around it. Tacoma Industries once produced Abraxa cleaning products, and is now a stronghold for super mutants. Before entering the facility, you'll notice a small surprise, in the form of a very large behemoth nearby. In some cases, there will be a battle between the super mutants and mercenaries from Taiwan Company. Inside the factory, you should go to the upper level and find the exit. Along the way, you'll witness a brutal battle with fallen super mutants and Taiwan mercenaries. After exiting to the backyard of Tacoma Industries, you can immediately turn right and reach a tent with a dead mercenary, where there are a few supplies. But you should head to the opposite shore of the building and follow the walls. Sooner or later, you'll find an opening leading to a hidden pond among the ruins. The place is highly radioactive, so much so that Geiger counters will break. Be sure to stock up on Radaway and Rad-X. The pond is well hidden from the most players. At first glance, there is nothing interesting in it. Exploring the radiation-contaminated area, you'll find a rare glowing ghoul named Samuel. Nearby, you'll see someone's camp with medicines, an anti-radiation suit, and a terminal. As it turns out, the camp belonged to two poor souls named Isabella and Jason, whose bodies in anti-radiation suits are found nearby. Opening the terminal, the story begins on the 45th day of the experiment. The purpose and meaning of the experiment and who is behind it won't be revealed to us. Instead of monotonously reading out the terminal entries, I suggest we analyze the information described in the terminal. It appears the records were made by Isabella Proud. In the first note, titled Day 45, Isabella mentions her colleague Jason found a terminal suitable for their needs in the ruins nearby. She mentions they used a portable power source to move the terminal closer to the research site. From this point, her handwritten notes are transferred directly to the terminal. While Jason was searching the ruins, Isabella noticed a group of what would later be identified as feral ghouls. As many believe, ghouls fear daylight, which according to her words and observations isn't true, though they do prefer being indoors. On the 51st day, Isabella deviates from certain procedures and conducts an informal experiment. The essence was to fill several heavy and deep containers, like barrels or sinks, with water. Each container had different level of radiation, from weak to strong. Isabella wanted to understand if radiation attracts feral ghouls, and her assumption was confirmed, as ghouls began gathering near the most contaminated basin. Afterward, wearing a protective suit, she managed to fill one of the containers with water containing lethal radiation level, which was a remarkable success. During the experiment, all previous attempts to attract ghouls to specific places had not been as effective, which delighted Isabella. On the 53rd day, Jason finds and repairs a small generator, allowing them to move closer to the group of ghouls. After relocating all equipment, they take the best vantage point. Almost a week later, on the 58th day, a breakthrough occurred. Isabella managed to make a contact with a feral ghoul. The ghoul named Melinda by Isabella approached her without showing aggression. Isabella found the ghoul's movements quite feminine, though she's unsure if that's possible to determine the ghoul's gender. While measuring the radiation levels of the water, the ghoul approached Isabella and grabbed her hand. However, instead of attacking her, Melinda began sniffing Isabella's arm. Isabella was terrified and regretted leaving her pistol behind. It seems the ghoul duo was attracted to resin particles left on Isabella's suit. The resin was used by scientists in the water experiments, added in different proportion to increase the radiation level. The ghoul may have mistaken Isabella for another ghoul due to her radiation levels, and soon disappeared from sight. On the 63rd day, the group of ghouls, including Melinda, disappeared. Jason began to suspect something was wrong, but Isabella believed they were close to achieving their goal. Day 67. Against Jason's protests, Isabella decides to spend the night at the experiment site and notices movement in the dark. It might have been the group of ghouls that left the experiment site, but it was unlikely to be mutants due to the smooth movement of the silhouettes. It was also unlikely to be humans, as the silhouettes did not try to hide. Soon, the moon concealed the movement from view. On the next day, named Day 68, Isabella again spends the night outside, but this time Jason stays with her. Before nightfall, Isabella contaminates the primary water source as much as possible, and Jason tries to hide their camp. Her plan worked, and a group of ghouls, including Melinda, arrived at the radiation source. They began gathering in a radioactive pool. At night, a glowing ghoul named Samuel arrived, glowing so brightly that Isabella turned off the Geiger counter to avoid detection. All the ghouls were literally drawn to him, likely because of his high radiation levels. In the last entry, on the day 75, Isabella decides to establish another contact with the ghouls. She covered her suit with resin from head to toe, and plans to make contact with the ghouls after midnight. Jason was absent at the time, and she decided to secretly cover his suit with resin, knowing he wouldn't approve this idea. They set up a camp near the water source and waited. So, records end here, and I could say that the experiment failed and say bye-bye. After all, the story ends here, but I have some questions that I will try to answer. Let's quickly summarize what we learned from Isabella's experiment. Ghouls don't fear daylight, which was revealed before day 45. They can be attracted by radiation, and if humans are heavily irradiated, they might be accepted as one of their kind. Ghouls have leaders in the form of highly irradiated individuals, like the glowing ones. Notably, Melinda is likely not among the arriving ghouls, and there were unidentified movements in the night on day 67. What question arises from these findings? What was the experiment's purpose? Creating some technology or simply researching feral ghouls? Who are Isabella and Jason, and what kind of organization needed to study feral ghouls? Most likely, this pair studied the effects of radiation on ghouls in order to create something that could attract or control them. Possibly the intention was to use these already controlled individuals in other experiments. Jason showed no scientific interest in the experiment itself. Most of the time he was protecting Isabella, repairing things, and searched ruins nearby, while Isabella conducted the research. I believe she was the scientist and Jason was either a technician or simply her god. And most importantly, who needed to conduct these experiments? Who could send two people to a remote location to successfully study such dangerous feral ghouls for a little over 2 months? In the wasteland, there are several organizations that could do this. The Enclave likely wouldn't be interested in studying ghouls and would simply exterminate them. Similarly, the Brotherhood of Steel would probably eradicate ghouls. Given the war between these organizations and ongoing events, I don't think they would be conducting such research. Jason and Isabella are also not lone researchers or weirdos like Moira Brown or Sierra Petrovita, due to the good combination of skills this pair has. Jason managed to fix the terminal and connect it to the generator, built a camouflage shelter, and probably carried the other tasks for Isabella. Isabella herself kept handwritten records from the first day of the experiment, meticulously and methodically trying to make progress. She knew about the effects of radiation and how to artificially increase the water's radiation levels. And it seems to me that the Institute was behind these experiments. Just think about it. Who would need such research? Who has qualified personnel but lacks brutal strength? Who can send scientists and other personnel to remote locations and often employs mercenaries? Remember the quest in Rivet City? During the Replicated Man mission, there is only one Institute staff member. He hires the player as a mercenary to search for a runaway synth and is guarded by other mercenaries, not the Institute staff. Kellogg from Fallout 4 is also not an Institute employee. Like a Taiwan company, he is a hired gun. So, what the Taiwan company is doing in the Tacoma Park? It's a location full of super mutants, reachable only through a dangerous cluttered tunnel, guarded by Frankensteins. Taiwan company is a mercenary group that performs various tasks for cops. I think the Institute hired them to find out where Isabella and Jason disappeared. The mercenaries likely retrieved Isabella's records, since no papers or notes were found on her body or around. In one of the terminal logs, she clearly mentioned that she was writing some notes. Due to the abundance of super mutants in the area, the behemoth, and some losses, the mercenaries probably didn't evacuate the terminal and the scientists, considering Tacoma Park too dangerous, but the notebook may have successfully reached the Institute already. So, the Taiwan company was just searching for their notes. You also can find a tent nearby Tacoma Industries, which I think was the main base for the scientists, as it had 2 beds, a radio, a wardrobe and some supplies. For me, it didn't look like it belonged to Taiwan company, though you can find the body of a mercenary inside, who probably was looking for Isabella's records. By the way, the super mutants have no special motivation here. They just occupy Tacoma Industries because of its size and location, turning it into a fortress. So, why did the ghouls attack them? Remember, Isabella forgot her pistol when she met Melinda and had some radioactive resin on her suit. I think their radiation levels were lower than the glowing ghouls, but still higher than a normal feral ghoul, as Isabella coated both suits with resin from their head to toe. The glowing ghoul, as the alpha in the pack, felt threatened by Isabella and Jason, possibly thinking they wanted to become alphas and take control. He decided to attack them. It is unclear if the entire pack participated, but probably all of the ghouls attacked scientists. Jason couldn't fight back alone, and Isabella forgot her pistol. Also, it's possible Melinda wasn't in the pack, and it was an entirely different group of ghouls. On the 67th day, a new pack of ghouls likely approached them, hiding in the ruins. Perhaps the Institute wanted to control ghouls, turning them into controlled zombies, or planned to use them in creating synths by studying their cognitive abilities. Again, all this is just my theory, supported by available information. The only question that still bothers me is what kind of technology the Institute needed to create from the data obtained in feral ghouls research. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell button and leave your like and comment.